Welcome to this capsule discussing pediatric considerations when returning to activities after a concussion. My name is Nick Reed and I'm a senior clinician scientist at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital and an associate professor in the Department of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy at the University of Toronto. In this presentation, I will highlight three topics. First, that children and youth are different than adults and require a unique approach to concussion and care. Second, that international consensus differentiates children and youth from adults. And third, that post-concussion symptoms impact function, or what one needs, wants, and loves to do. Children and youth are not many adults. From their physiology, their emotions, the demands in their lives, and the things they need to do, the goals and their plans for the future, their supports in their lives, and the environments they live in, children and youth are unique and require a unique approach to managing concussion. International consensus differentiates children and youth from adults. Most recently, the International Consensus Statement on Concussion in Sport from Berlin identifies 5 important pediatric considerations. First, the definition of ages for children and adolescents, where children are 5 to 12 years old and adolescents are 13 to 18 years old. Second, that the widespread routine use of baseline computerized neuropsychological testing is not recommended in children and adolescents, stating the need for more research to explore value and appropriate use. Third, that the expected duration of symptoms for children and adolescents is 4 weeks, where adults is 2 weeks, meaning that children and adolescents take longer on average to feel well after a concussion. Fourth, like adults, children and adolescents would benefit from reduced complete rest, meaning a period of 1 to 2 days of physical and cognitive rest followed by a resumption of symptom-limited activity is ideal. 5, recommending successful return to school prior to return to sport and encouraging that all schools have a concussion prevention and management policy in place. Protocols and strategies are available to support successful return to school for children and youth after a concussion. More details on return to school can be found in the management module of the course. Here is an example of a basic return to school strategy from the Berlin International Consensus Statement on Concussion in Sport. Another example is a more detailed example of a return to school protocol from the Concussion Awareness Training Tool that uses the same principles from the return to school strategy from the Berlin International Consensus Statement on Concussion in Sport. You can learn more about the Concussion Awareness Training Tool in the final module of the course. Although the post-concussion signs and symptoms experienced by children and youth may be similar to adults, be it physical, cognitive, and emotional signs and symptoms, along with sleep disturbances, the impact on function in daily life may be very different. It is important to be aware that the symptoms experienced by children and youth after a concussion can limit their ability to play the sport they love, study for that important math test, or learn to drive the family minivan. Children and youth have many things that they need, want, and love to do in their lives. To best support children and youth, we must consider more than only their symptoms after a concussion. I present a call to action when supporting children and youth following a concussion. First, it's about more than just post-concussion symptoms. We must consider function, what one needs, wants, and loves to do. Next, it's about more than just school and sports. There are many activities that might be important to the child and that they need support returning to. Finally, if you don't ask, you won't know and you can't help. Ask what activities are important and how you can help enable performance and participation. To do this, you can use formal tools like the Canadian Occupational Performance Measure, or you can use informal questions like what activities are you not able to do right now? Or what do you need, want, and love to do in your lives? In closing, here are some key messages. First, children and youth are different than adults. From how their body works to the environments they engage in, children and youth are unique and require a unique approach to concussion care. Next, international consensus differentiates children and youth from adults. It can take children and youth longer to recover than adults. Widespread routine use of baseline computerized neuropsychological testing is not recommended, and there is an emphasis on the need to successfully return to school prior to returning to sport after a concussion. Finally, post-concussion symptoms impact function. Children and youth are engaged in many activities. If we don't ask about these activities, we won't know what they are, we won't know what these youth are having most difficulty with, and in turn, we won't be able to help. To best support children and youth after a concussion, we must focus on function and what children and youth need, want, and love to do.